I'm Janelle Slade. We begin with election news this Thursday. A judge in Billings has blocked enforcement of a state law that restricts the collection of absentee ballots. Now, the ruling came in a lawsuit filed by Montana's Indian tribes and the American Civil Liberties Union. State District Judge Jessica Fair issued a temporary restraining order blocking the law known as the Ballot Interference Prevention Act. The law, passed by Montana voters in 2018, restricts who besides the voter can deliver absentee ballots to county election offices. Now, the ACLU, Montana Indian tribes, and two Native American groups are suing to overturn the law, saying it violates voting rights by preventing ballot collection efforts on reservations. The suit says Native Americans often have poor access to voting offices or mail and instead rely on people delivering their absentee ballot. The judge agreed enforcement of the law during the current election could cause irreparable harm to Native American voters. Judge Jessica Fair has set a hearing next Friday on whether to grant a permanent injunction to block the law while she decides whether it is unconstitutional. Well, Montana's reopening process is moving along faster than many other states, but still not quick enough for some protesters who took to the state capitol yesterday. Demonstrators are calling for the state to fully open now. They say rules favor some groups over others and put unreasonable restrictions on people's freedom. Many acknowledge the concerns around the coronavirus, but say a full shutdown wasn't justified.
The principle of it, as a free society, we can't just force people to close down because things are scary. If we are not free when things are bad, then are we really free, or are we just play acting at being free?
Ravalli County health officials are urging people to continue following coronavirus precautions as they wait for a recent spike in cases to potentially grow. All 8 related confirmed cases are in quarantine, and the county is tracking contacts with 30 more people. The initial cases are tied to travel, not community transmission. Now, the county urges Bitterroot residents to social distance, wear masks in public, and wash their hands. Now, because of patient privacy laws, the county cannot give further details on where or what town this outbreak happened. Well, Montana health authorities add 1 new confirmed COVID-19 case today. That new case in Yellowstone County involves a man in his 40s. There are 23 active cases statewide, 8 in Ravalli County, 6 in Yellowstone, and 5 in Bighorn. Now, the state says 3 people are hospitalized. A recount confirms voters approved the Townsend School District's elementary bond proposal by an extremely narrow margin of 3 votes. Now, the Townsend School Board conducted the recount this week. They confirm 1,041 people voted for the bond and 1,038 voted against it. They matched the results after the initial canvass last week. The $18.8 million bond will build a new elementary school and pay for security and safety upgrades. Now, the district will begin the design process for the new school this summer and fall. The project could go out for bid early next year and begin construction as soon as May 2021. Well, Western Montana already dealing with high waters this spring. The Clark Fork River west of downtown Missoula spilled over its banks and is now covering parts of streets, thanks to a prolonged widespread rainfall overnight. Now, projections for the Clark Fork River above Missoula are calling for a crest just shy of the 11-foot moderate flood stage sometime between this evening and noon Friday. And Ravalli County authorities say they are also monitoring rising water levels and the potential for some minor flooding this week. Well, it's a busy weather scene all across the state. For the very latest, let's check in with meteorologist Ed McIntosh.
Janelle, it turned out to be such a busy day yesterday, and a lot of that is also continuing into this afternoon, but not the strong to severe storms that we saw. Now, everywhere you see one of those markers on the map shows somewhere where we had some report of very heavy rain, flooding, hail, wind, and some wind damage to go along with it as well. Here's just a sample over in western Montana, some flooding concerns from Missoula all the way down towards Sula, plus a lot of areas picked up rain totals that were anywhere from over 1/2 inch to 2 inches, and a lot of that in a very short period of time. Across eastern Montana, we saw a lot more hail reports, up to 2.5 inches around Miles City, and wind gusts up to 70 miles per hour. A look at what's happening with the weather today coming up in a few minutes.
All right, thanks so much, Ed. Well, the first CWD case of the year has been found in Gallatin County. Montana Fish, Wildlife and Park says a white-tailed buck in the Spring Hill area north of Bozeman contracted the fatal disease. The deer was showing multiple symptoms, including a drooping head and ears and a sluggish response time. CWD was first detected in Montana in 2017. Fish, Wildlife and Parks biologists identified more than 90 cases of it last year in Montana. A Colorado man is behind bars and his friend is in the hospital after they smashed their van into a truck in downtown Bozeman. The pair took off, but the fast actions of witnesses prevented the worst. MTN's Cody Boyer has that story.
Josh McCain says he and his young nephew were driving down 7th just after 1 p.m. Now that's a busy time for this stretch. McCain says what happened next when a man and his passenger slammed into the back of his truck was a miracle.
All of a sudden, just bam.
Police say Jeremy Morial and his friend sat for less than a minute after their van smashed into McCain. To McCain, the rest happened like dominoes.
They hit so hard. Unfortunately, hit us so hard that we hit the lady in front of us, a grandma and her 2 granddaughters.
McCain moved fast, checking on the family ahead.
I said, stay in the car. I said, do not get out. This guy's going to take off. I guarantee it.
A gut feeling that proved accurate.
I knew if he's going to take off, there's other people that are going to get hurt. He saw me coming. Puts it in reverse, rips his front bumper off of his car, swerves out, almost hits me.
Police say Morial sped off down Main to Huffine, weaving through traffic, narrowly missing several bicyclists. But McCain hadn't stopped either, taking down the pair's license plate number.
It's a miracle, honestly. The way that he took off, he was within 2 or 3 feet of head-on collision from somebody else coming on oncoming traffic.
But not before leaving a clue, that bumper with the license plate on it. McCain credits his calm action to those he works with at Big Sky Bravery.
We work with active duty special ops members. The lessons I've been taught and the training that they've given me the last 4 or 5 years definitely kind of keeps your head cool in a situation like that.
Police found the van miles away at Cottonwood and Durston. Morial blew a .294. His friend hospitalized with injuries to his face and hands. No one else was hurt. A fact that McCain says is the biggest shock of all.
I just count my blessings. Just always watch your 6.
In Bozeman, Cody Boyer, MTN News.
If convicted of criminal endangerment, Morial could face up to 10 years in prison. His bail is set at $35,000. Well, if you're not driving like that, you may have noticed some extra savings on your car insurance bill this month. That's because when the pandemic prompted stay-at-home orders, less drivers equated to fewer accidents. April and May saw a tremendous drop-off in motorists. Some insurance companies were giving discounts of almost 25%. And as you may expect, as drivers increase along with accidents, your insurance bills will go back up. We have more ahead on your noon news. Grab the laptop. We study up on how some Montana science teachers make sure students are getting hands-on learning to earn their final grade. The time now is 12:08 and Ed McIntosh is in next with your statewide weather forecast.
Now, here's your Storm Tracker weather forecast with meteorologist Ed McIntosh.
Welcome back. As we take a look statewide, we're looking at readings into the 40s, 50s, 60s, and even some 70s here once we get to Glendive, Williston, North Dakota, all the way up to 76 degrees, taking a run at 80 by later in the day. So the contrast brought in by cooler air, the rain showers that have continued to develop from Lewistown to the north, some showers in western Montana, even a little bit of higher elevation snow to go along with this as we start getting through the next few days. Strong winds. Now, even western Montana, you've seen some of those winds around Missoula up into the Flathead Valley, particularly here as we start looking into the east slopes of the Rockies from Cutbank, Havre, Great Falls, Lewistown, the usually wind-prone areas. Wind prone today for sure. This isn't usually the time of the year when we're talking about 52-mile-per-hour wind gusts at 46 miles per hour in Great Falls, but certainly seeing that today. Livingston out towards Billings, certainly breezy as well. So some of that wind is going to stick around through the afternoon. Temperatures in general will end up a bit cooler in central and western Montana with the sunshine. Obviously, we're already seeing some of those warmer readings. So as we build up this area through the day today, we're going to be watching the contrast where this disturbance moving through is kind of of a dividing line between the cooler air off into central and western Montana and then warmer across the eastern plains. As that continues to push into the region tomorrow, we're still going to see some pretty warm readings across eastern Montana, but it's also going to allow this low to start to dig in, creating areas of rain showers and isolated thunderstorms for tomorrow afternoon. And while we could see certainly some thunderstorms over the next few days, the potential for the strong to severe storms with the wind and the hail and the heavy rainfall, a lot less likely. We could see some pockets of a little heavier rain, but that's about it. Snow showers as we start looking Friday night into Saturday into some of the mountains of south central Montana. Widespread rain showers. Now again, the entire area won't be soaked with rain, but we will see at least some shower potential, especially in central and western Montana, and perhaps even some stronger cells across the eastern plains. So for today, we're looking at temperatures that end up 50s and 60s across central and western Montana. Much more unsettled. Those periods of wind, that's all the blue arrows you see on your screen here. As we take it through the afternoon, a few showers, thunderstorms could move across southwest Montana to south central Montana, but drier and warmer once we get off into areas of eastern Montana towards the Dakotas and for you in northern Wyoming. Then tomorrow we start off in the 30s and 40s. And again, you can see some of the areas where we could see some higher elevation snow in those blue shaded regions. But a little quieter first thing in the morning and a little colder. Once we get from Lewistown towards the west, mainly 30s, but 40s across the eastern plains early Friday morning. For the afternoon, we have a contrast in the temperatures very similar to today. 50s and then 60s to 70s, even some low 80s once again. But the potential for showers and thunderstorms through southern Montana starts to increase by the time we start getting into the afternoon and evening hours. Western Montana, you just seem to want to hold on to the showers a little bit longer here with the periods of wind today. We'll be watching temperatures to hold a little shy of average 50s to low 60s. Great Falls and Helena looking at a little slip in the temperatures. We'll look for readings to stay 50s to 60s for the highs, mainly 30s for the overnight lows. And again, we'll look at some of those higher elevation snow showers. Butte and Bozeman looking at a chance of showers and thunderstorms off and on over the next few days. Butte, you could be windy at times, and temperatures much warmer across eastern Montana. There's a look at the weather. Back to you.
All right, thanks, Ed. The last day of school is near, and during this time of online learning, 2 science teachers at Billings Senior High wanted to make sure their students got some hands-on learning to earn their final grade. MTN's Victoria Hill has the story.
What's chemistry without a little fun?
This isn't magic, this is science.
Senior high teachers Craig Beals and Jennifer Beersdorf teamed up to make sure their students ended the year with a little learning fun.
So with chemistry, it's a very lab-based course. There are so many activities that the kids just were going to miss out on with the school closure for those last few months. And so Craig and I decided to come up with some fun activities that would be easy and safe for them to perform at home.
The solution? These home science labs.
There are teachers all over the country, there are teachers all over Billings that are just trying to think of creative ways to inspire their kids to keep on learning because it's hard. And for us, this is an incentive to keep on learning, but also a reminder that we're here and we're thinking about you and we want you to enjoy the distance learning as much as we possibly can.
The experiments were something their classes were working up to before COVID-19 came along.
I'm really excited to see what doing a hands-on experiment will be like, especially chemistry, because Mr. Beals is really good about, doing our AP Chem labs, and we haven't done anything hands-on yet this year, since we've been in quarantine.
And it's actually their final. While students usually get the jitters come finals time, it had quite the opposite effect.
I actually was pretty excited because it's not a written final, it's a hands-on, which is a lot easier to make sure you're doing things correctly. And me and my little brother did it together, so it was kind of a fun family activity.
Designed to challenge students, it was also a test of creativity for their teachers.
To be able to do things and find ways to make science exciting to learn about, that's always been the goal. And to sort of have that taken away, it was really good to be forced to be creative and figure out, well, how do we jump back into this? And, I think we've done okay.
In Billings, Victoria Hill, MTN News.
Thanks, Victoria. And Victoria tells us altogether they made about 170 home science labs. If you'd like to join in on the science fun, directions and a list of supplies you need for each experiment can be found on the chemistry page at mrbeals.com. Up next, your latest ag news with Russell Nimitz. Stay with us.
Now, here's here's your Farm and Ranch report from the Montana Ag Network.
Hi everybody, it's time for your Farm and Ranch news. Well, without question, the Milk River is the lifeline for Montana's Highline. Not only does it provide irrigation water for 110,000 acres, but also drinking water for communities like Chinook, Havre, Harlem, and Malta. But on May 17th, a concrete drop structure failed on the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation's Milk River project, St. Mary Canal, northwest of Cut Bank. Now, the drop structure is the last of 5 that use gravity and siphons to convey water through the 29-mile-long St. Mary Canal to the North Fork of the Milk River. Now, the Bureau of Reclamation, along with stakeholders of the Milk River project, are all assessing the current situation to determine the impacts of water users and, of course, options for restoring canal operation. This week, I talked with one of those stakeholders, Wade Jones, a farmer and rancher and Milk River Irrigation District leader from Malta, about the severity of the issue.
We have good storage in Fresno. In fact, it's basically full and spilling a little. The Nelson Reservoir is also a big storage area for the Malta East. Everything below the Malta District to the east and the Glasgow District is supplied out of Nelson Reservoir, and it's full. So we know we can get through the first irrigation. Then we gotta, kind of assess stuff at the end of June and see how far and how much water we have left to get through possibly a second irrigation.
The estimated cost to fix the damage is around $5 million, and Montana's congressional delegation is urging the Bureau of Reclamation to make an emergency determination and fix the structure.
While the Milk River is a critical source of water on the Highline, I'm deeply concerned how this crisis is going to impact the upcoming growing season for our farmers and ranchers. I've long been working on legislation in Congress to complete this water project, and with yesterday's news, it is urgent we get this done as soon as possible.
Almost 18,000 Montanans depend on the Milk River water system to irrigate their crops and pasture and for drinking water. Wade Jones says time is of the essence to fix the St. Mary structure and keep the water flowing.
Yeah, I don't even want to think about, a year without water, but there is a possibility if we don't get the help up there at them structures to get them fixed, because we flow so much water in the fall to get our reserves in these reservoirs built up, to where if we're unable to do that, next year would be a very, very tough year.
Now, in the meantime, the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation says that once a plan and schedule for the repair of the canal are developed, water deliveries will be assessed and communicated. Additional details and updates will also be posted on the Bureau's Montana Area Office's website. Stay with us. We'll have more ag news right after this. Well, this week, President Trump suggested that the United States should consider terminating trade deals that bring live cattle into this country. Now, keep in mind that most cattle imported into the U.S. actually come from Mexico and Canada, thus falling under the new USMCA agreement. However, a recent Trump administration decision to allow fresh beef imports from Brazil is something cattle organizations like the NCBA and others have urged the president to reconsider. Well, that's a look at your farm and ranch news. Have a great day.
Thanks, Russell. And one last look at our forecast with Ed.
Yeah, we've got showers, especially in western Montana, with periods of wind, especially Great Falls, Helena, but even Kalispell, Missoula. You've been very breezy throughout the day. Things do get a little more settled as we start getting towards the end of the weekend beyond our 3-day forecast. But between now and then, pretty much everybody has at least the chance of a shower or thunderstorm. Eastern Montana will stay somewhat drier until we get into Saturday.
All right, thanks, Ed. We'll see you tomorrow at noon. Have a great day, everyone.